All right. Good morning. Welcome into the Morning Burrito Podcast. I am Michael.
I'm Eric.
And you're back.
I'm back.
That is so exciting.
So many miles behind us.
We did have two good shows without you, though.
That's
I
good.
will admit.
That's good.
We finally got Kelly Robinson
I didn't
on
hear
the
it,
show.
but I heard he was coming.
Why didn't you watch it? Because we made fun of you
Yeah, I was a little busy.
several times.
Sorry. See, I'm sorry.
You need to go back and watch
I
it.
probably should.
Because, there were short jokes galore happening.
Why would I want to put myself through that?
Because it's fun.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah. He had to adjust your mic several times.
Oh, that's why I'm little. It's different. Yeah.
Well, and Andy was here last week, so Andy, is taller than you. So, pretty much everybody. But anyway.
Wow. What a way to end the year. Thanks for that intro.
So, I do have my Christmas hat on. We do have Christmas cactus here with us because it's technically not the end of Christmas yet. Christmas is technically not over because we have Epiphany happening right now. But we are going to talk about 2020. No, this is not coffee. 2021 year in review. And before we get into that, it is really hard finding a list of things to review this year that are not political in nature.
Yep.
So as we dive into today's show, understand that as we have always been, this is show 50. So we've hit 50 episodes now.
Wow.
We are not political. We're not going to be political, but there are political things that happen this year that are of note.
Part of life.
And just like there were last year, and it seems like every year now, it's majority political stuff that makes up our year. So we will be right back with the Morning Burrito Podcast. All right, welcome back in. So, man, it is 2021. I thought that 2020 really couldn't have been like a worse year, but 2021 rivaled it pretty well.
Yeah. My morning this morning, I knew I was still in 2021. I'm sitting in the coffee line for our coffees. You think that's hot chocolate, but
It's hot chocolate.
And the line goes all the way around the building, right? And I'm like, I got my drinks, and I pull forward about 8 feet, and there's a car that came in the parking lot and just stops right in front, like I couldn't get out.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I don't know, probably 22-ish, and she looked at me like right here. She just glanced up and did that, and then she just grabbed her phone, and I'm like, seriously, think through the process. The line, you're at the end of it, goes all the way around the building, and I'm at the front. Nobody's moving. So I think she'll figure this out. She's just like, and she glances up, does this. And like, seriously? So I try to be really patient. But I had to honk at her. And I honked at her. You know what she did to me?
Flipped you off.
No, she wasn't that rude. She just kind of looked up and she's like, I got the, it's actually double-handed. And I'm like, go around the building. And she's like, she went back to her phone. Guy behind me starts honking. Nothing. Nothing. So that's why I was late to the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, I had to throw it there because like a lot of this year has been that way of just the lack of thought that people put into things. So finally she figured it out. But
You weren't that late. And 2021, there's a lot to review, but
wow.
So really 2021, it began, the first few days were no really different than any other year when you have a new president coming into office. Everything was, either woe is us or
It was rough.
yay, everything's going to be better. That's pretty much how the first few days of 2021 started. And in our country, there was a lot of unrest still regarding the previous election that happened in 2020. And then January 6th happened, and everybody lost their minds on both sides of the political spectrum, and some exaggerating what happened, some underplaying what happened, and pretty much all sides acting crazy. And to this day, the media still talks about January 6th, even though it's almost a year removed from it.
Yep.
And I imagine that's still going to be the case 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah. But, throughout the whole year, though, between the on the political election side and the chaos and the defunding of everything and the cancel culture movement that has come up, and the progressives and the wokeness, and I mean, just take your pick, right, of topics. That's where 21 has been kind of like, the old exclamation mark there has been just boom right there about on everything. But seriously, for me, when Mr. Potato Head got canceled, I was like, done. And then Kermit the Frog.
We did do a show about
Done.
Kermit.
We did do that.
And this year has been so. Before we get into really deep stuff that has happened this year, there have been a few things. You mentioned a couple of them: the cancellation of Kermit, the cancellation of Mr. Potato Head, which I still don't quite get because it's an anthropomorphic.
Whatever word you try to say there, sure,
it's a potato. Like
it is.
Potatoes don't have gender in reality, so why are we getting? I don't know. Whatever. But there are some funny things. I mean, they're not funny, but they're humorous that our culture has gotten to this low. We've had some interesting musical choices come out this year that have been very odd, and it's been interesting to watch the church's reaction to them. So I'm not going to say what this means because most of you who are listening probably know what it means, but it is disgusting in the word, and that is the song WAP came out and was a hit all over the world. Can't quite understand why. And then also you have the song by Lil Nas X that was very vulgar, and our culture wonders why there's negative reaction to how the church views that stuff, as if the church is supposed to react in a positive. Yeah, it's great that those sorts of songs are popping out every day, it seems now. But there's also been a positive thing that's happened. I am a big fan. That seems like a weird thing to say, but I'm a big fan of music in general. But I have noticed that this year, and it's really been building, I think, for a few years, but certainly this year, Christian artists are the rage. Like they are popular in not only Christian music culture, but Christian artists are becoming much more popular in the non-Christian sphere. So that's been a good change for 2021.
Good.
What of all the events that have happened, what was the one thing that caught your attention the most this year?
Oh, yeah, there's not one. How do you put it into one? I don't know. I have no idea. One thing?
One thing. Besides Kermit, because Kermit was rough. You were pretty fired up about Kermit.
Yeah, it was rough. Man, the one thing.
It could be good. I mean, there were good things that happened in 2021.
Yeah, there were.
It's something that just happened recently, like
the one thing.
The reason you were gone.
Oh, the wedding. Oh, yeah. I'm still on vacation, so that's there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, son. He's not watching this anyway. But
probably not. He's a yuppie. He doesn't watch podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Just not our podcast.
It's not us. But yeah, no. Family in the Fritz family. That was. I mean, a wedding in the Fritz family. That was big. They'll take a little while to recover from, but
financially and otherwise.
But we're good. We're good. But yeah, I think I don't know. So this is both. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's probably the biggest thing that I noticed this year. It's been illuminated. It's always been there, but people have used everything that we've talked about as an excuse to not attend church and to bail on their religion, and to align themselves with culture. And I mean, that stuff's always been there. So I say it's good and bad. It's bad because people have literally lost their minds and lost their holiness in that. Now I know that some of you are going to get mad at that maybe, but I mean, that's what it is. So and they do it in such a way as try to make the church feel bad, or try to make pastors feel bad. And I just got to tell you that while relationally some things hurt, God's still bigger and God still wins. So so I think for me that's been one of the biggest things. It doesn't matter what we look at in culture. That's the one thing that you just sit back and go, seriously, you think that? Let me like the songs you're talking about, the music.
Yeah.
I mean, just pick anything, mask, unmask. I mean, such a divisive conversation. And I mean, I just spent a week, out of the state of Oregon, and I gotta say, it was fabulous. But to watch the oppression coming back into the state, I mean, so for me, that's been a big part of the year. But the good side of that is I've seen my own faith grow in that, and it's really helped me define my relationship with Christ and where I'm at and how to put faith on a whole different level in several areas, which, if it wasn't for today's culture and the viewpoints and the things that people ask questions about, you and I wouldn't sit back and go, we just go through life. So it's maybe better that way. So anyway,
Sure.
So it's the good and bad short of it.
I think over the past 2 years, for sure, because of pandemic in part, but also the pandemic has been a very usable excuse as to why to disconnect. I think that one of the things that's been interesting to me to watch is, for a very long time, I would hear in the media, on both sides of the aisle, in some fashion, they would be talking about the idea that the church is too political, and that the church needs to get out of politics and leave politics alone and do what churches are supposed to do, is what was said. But I have seen over the last 2 years that be amplified, and that has been what's been shocking to me. And in a lot of ways, it's gone in the opposite, like the pendulum swung way to the other direction on politics for many churches. I mean, when we talk about mask mandates, vaccine mandates, we've seen churches go to polar opposites on how they react to those things. One thing that our church family here at Hermnaz certainly would not be able to accuse us of as leaders is that we've gone one side or the other. We have been pretty much right down the middle from the very beginning of the pandemic, following the mandates as best as we can. And yeah, I mean, we haven't really wavered on that at all from the very beginning, while at the same time not getting crazy on one side or crazy on the other. But I have seen churches do that. They've gone to one side or the other, and they've pigeoned people or pitted people against each other if they don't line up on that side of that particular
Right.
mandate issue. And I found that interesting. Like it's we've created another situation for the church to be
Yep.
political when it doesn't need to be.
Yep. And then you've got gas prices on top of all that.
Well, I saw a picture or a video. This I assume it was TikTok or some social media, maybe Instagram. I'm not sure, but this lady who does a lot of she has a lot of expensive cars, so she it's a lot of her driving these cool cars or whatever, and she stops at a gas station. I'm assuming in California, and it was $8.50 a gallon.
Wow.
And I was like, ouch.
Wow.
Ouch.
The least amount of money we paid for gas per gallon on our trip was $2.95.
And you were going into places where gas should be theoretically a lot cheaper than here.
Yeah, I think so. So go Montana. I mean, if you're looking for a place to move to, Montana, $2.95 is great.
All because the gas is
Hey.
60 cents cheaper a gallon.
It was awesome.
I mean, it's like I think the highest I've seen here is like $3.75 or thereabouts.
I mean, I was so happy. I wanted to fill up everybody's car that was in the parking lot. I didn't, but
I was going to say that's kind of weird.
that was
Don't
the
do
thought.
that.
Well, it could have been Christmas, right? I mean,
I
pass it
suppose.
on, so,
I guess.
but I do think one of the joys that come out of the year of 2021 is that it's over. Right?
We said the
done.
same thing last year.
It's done. And we better be smart and take the lessons of this year, learn from them, and not make the same mistake in the year to come.
So one of the purposes of this podcast has been from the very beginning is we want to show our people who are following, whether listening or watching, we want to show you where faith and culture intertwine, where they intersect, and break down, is it a good intersection? Is it a bad intersection? Really try and bring truth into a culture where truth is not really appreciated. And a lot of times it's not even looked at as being truth. We've talked over and over again on this podcast about the whole idea of my truth and how stupid that phrase is, and how that you cannot say my truth, because there's no such thing as my truth. There's either truth or not truth. There's no real in between. There's no gray area in that. Especially when we talk about faith. Faith, things are very clear. And so this year, as we've been talking about, there have been a lot of things that we can learn faith-wise, not just personally, but culturally. What are some of the takeaways that you get from this year faith-wise that maybe can help some of our viewers, some of our listeners, as they walk into 2022?
Relax. Just relax.
Oh, that's a good one.
Breathe. Rest. Read. I mean, those are the things that I come up with. But I'm coming
all
from
ours, by the way.
Isn't that good?
Relax, rest,
Wow.
read.
Man, I hadn't thought of it. I'm smart, dude. That's awesome. But
You're
I'm
like
coming
Jesse
from
Jackson preaching there.
Oh, stop already! No, don't do that to me. So I'm coming from the perspective though of a lead pastor mindset, and I try not to sometimes. I try to come at it from a Christian husband, leader of the home kind of thing, spiritual leader of the home. So whatever kind of corner I try to put myself in, or what kind of box I put myself in, those are the things that keep coming back to me, because if you're watching today, and wherever you're at in your faith and how you read the word, and you hit panic. I mean, panic is one of those things that leads to fear, and that's so much what culture drives us in this year. But the Bible is very clear that things have to happen in prophecy in order for Jesus to come back and claim his bride. And I've been able to sit back and learn as I've been able to just go, okay, I got to breathe in this. I got to just sit back and relax. And let's look at why this is happening in our culture. And be able to look at the word and go, wow, that has to happen. So knowing that has to happen gives me a whole lot of freedom in my heart to go, okay, I can still go and, like I'm crafting today, getting, family stuff, all put together for Christmas. But being able to relax and do some things and not have to worry in that anxious moment. So I don't know. So that's probably one of my biggest takeaways is putting the word in what Jesus says and stop trying to define it and just start believing in it. And once you can stop defining it and trying to put a timeline together and just accept that this, and this is all part of this. And I mean, there. So I don't know where you're at, but the timeline in the Bible is like this long. And we're living in like the end is like that long, and we're somewhere in that. So you got the whole timeline, and we're here. So things are happening, and it happens very quickly. And people always, I don't know, they don't always ask, but many of you ask, well, when do you think Jesus is coming back? We don't have an answer for that, except for watch the Jewish people. Watch the Jewish people. When they start to return home, which they have, that's our timeline. So I don't know what that still looks like, but that's when you read the word. So there. That was probably deeper than you wanted to go, but
no, that's good.
That's where I have to just relax and know that what God says, he can make something good out of everything, even whatever side of the election process or your viewpoint on free medical choice or not. Listen, relax. Trust in the word of God that you read, and don't trust us necessarily for your spiritual growth. You're responsible for that, but trust the direction of your spiritual leaders. Nothing wrong in questioning them. Not saying that at all. But you gotta trust in the word of God above all, because we're men. We're gonna mess it up, right? And we're men. We're not as deep as Scripture is.
Ain't that the truth?
We're just not. So when we can catch a glimpse, especially in a year as we review it, you can look back and I've started my list of personal review of what's happened in my own journey this year. It's amazing how I've just been stinking thinking sometimes, and be able to look back at my journal and go, oh, that, yeah, okay, I understand now. Relax.
Yeah, so some of the things that took place this year, just again as review, we started with January 6th. Obviously, that was a big event in our country, and still being talked about today. The vaccine rollout was really kicking by January 20th when our current president took office, and that has continued. And I believe we're somewhere as a country 75 to 85%, somewhere in that general vicinity, and people being vaccinated. And I do think this is not a statement about whether you should or should not take the vaccine, but I think it is a miracle and an amazing sign of where we are technologically, that we were able to, our drug companies were able to get vaccines out so fast and get them approved. And I think that's just an amazing thing about how far we've come in science and technology. That's a pretty incredible thing, no matter what side of that you fall on. I mean, that's a pretty amazing thing. You also had this is kind of like last year, another year of just mandates and rules and changes and flexibility. We've had a mandate announced by the federal government that every business over 100 employees has to be have their people vaccinated, or they have to have some testing regimen or something in place. And then you've had, at least in our state, a mask mandate, then no mask mandate, then another mask mandate, indoor, outdoor. I mean, it's been pretty crazy. It's certainly been the year of mandates. We've also seen many different storms of different natures. So hurricanes, snowstorms already beginning this winter. We saw just a few weeks ago the tornadoes that ripped through the middle part of our country that destroyed thousands and thousands of homes and killed over 100 people. We've also seen continuing riots across our country. Certainly not with the frequency with which we saw them last year, particularly in the summertime last year. But it has continued, particularly for us as Oregonians. Portland continues to have riots quite frequently. And we've also seen looting just become part of the normal nomenclature, part of the normal cultural thing now. I find that very interesting, that looting has become not a big deal. Mm-hmm. I've heard multiple people say something to the effect of, well, that's why businesses have insurance.
Yep.
No. A business doesn't want to use that because there's other costs involved. If you get in a car accident, yes, you may have insurance, and great, good for you. That's a good thing. But what's going to happen after the accident? Your insurance rate's going to go up. So for these businesses, there's another cost involved in that. They're going to be paying more every quarter, or however they pay their insurance. That's going to go up. You have businesses that are closing because of this.
It's an entitlement. People feel entitled to looting.
So this is where faith and culture really, I think, is one of the things we can see this year where faith and culture really do intersect. And I've heard Christian people say these things. Christians, I'm talking to you. We should never be encouraging looting or downplaying the significance of that. That is sin. Plain and unadulterated. It does not matter the reason why.
That's the key point there. So, like the Christians, I don't know Christians that are actually looting, right?
Yes, I don't either.
But the downplaying of it, I mean,
acting as if it's no big deal.
Yeah,
it is a very big deal.
And not wanting to be, proactive, not wanting to take a stand, not wanting to be a voice, not wanting to raise your children. We had one family, not at this church, but in one of our friendships that, the kid was looting, and they're like, well, it comes to find out they didn't ever talk against it. It was like, because they didn't want to offend people, because we don't know their lifestyle. Maybe they're poor. Maybe they had like medical bills, so we don't know why people are looting. So let's not. And I'm like, seriously? No, it's still wrong. So,
And
anyway,
this is consistent
Don't
for
downplay
us.
it.
This is consistent for us because last year we talked about the riots and we said, look, protesting is one thing, rioting is another. Those are two completely separate things, and there is no justification for rioting, for causing violence, no matter what has happened to you. That is Jesus' own words. That is not our words. Don't take our words for that. Go to Jesus himself. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. That doesn't mean we don't defend ourselves or any of those sorts of things, but that does mean that when we react in a way that is counterproductive, we should expect a counterproductive response back. So that's one thing that I've heard people in the church say, and that's something we can learn from this year, is that we need to all, as Christians, stand on the side of not sinning. I know it sounds really like baseline, but that we should be standing against sin.
Okay, so but before you get there, you have to stop defining sin. Just stop it. We constantly in our culture define sin. We don't define sin. Yes, we do. I mean, that's that. I think. That's
Well, okay. I think I see what you're saying.
We're saying.
You're talking about us, not
Right,
Scripture.
The Word of God defines
Right.
sin.
Yeah. I agree with that.
We need to stop. I know you do. I kind of led you there.
I was like, wait a minute.
But we have to stop defining sin, right? And just let the Word define sin and live by that. And,
Right.
And I think that's one of the most powerful things I've seen out of this year. Even is churches and the people of God who have removed their opinion on anything and just follow God have been so successful and so at peace. Sure, they bang their head, they're frustrated. I mean, that's the human side of us. But man, their hearts are at peace because they haven't defined anything. Because if you don't define sin, then you don't define forgiveness. And I mean, I think our culture defines forgiveness as well as trying to come up with definitions for sin. It's like, hey, it's okay. It's all right if you do that. No. It's not. It's not. So don't define forgiveness. Don't define sin. Let the Word of God do that. And anyway, so I got it on that.
Yeah. And again, I think the big takeaway from a lot of things that have happened in not just 2021, but 2020 as well. I mean, these 2 years, I hope they get left in the sandbox of time.
You need to get past 2020. It sounds like. Just stay in 2021.
It's been hard. I mean, honestly, you
can't.
You look at 2020 and you look at 2021, and they're almost mirror images of each other. We've lost, as far as COVID is concerned, we've lost more people this year than we did last year, which is crazy to think. Considering a vaccine's been widely available all year, pretty much. I mean, it's been mirror images, and we saw some high profile cases this year happen and complete. Derek Chauvin, of course. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
George Floyd from last year, the killing of him. Derek Chauvin was found guilty, and actually just recently, within these last few weeks, in his federal trial, he pled guilty to depriving George Floyd of his civil rights. And so Chauvin is probably going to be in jail, if not the rest of his life, probably pretty close to it. I would guess the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. You also have the Kim Potter trial from Minnesota as well. That's finishing up as we speak. You also have the Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, but the lady who was close with what's the dude that
I don't know who you're talking about on that one.
What's his name? Now I'm having a mind blank. Anyway, you guys will probably know who I'm talking about, but there's the Ghislaine, I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's spelled weird, G-H at the beginning. Like, I don't even know what that means. And then, of course, you've had the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, which caused all kinds of controversy when he was acquitted of all charges. So this has definitely been the year of just people in trials or court stuff. You had Bill Cosby got out of jail. He was released on, what do they call that? Where humanitarian leave or whatever. They let him out because he's like 90 years old.
No, I thought it was because they made an error in the court case.
Was it that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was just because he was old and has cancer or something.
No.
Okay.
No. We actually have been binging the Cosby Show.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, hilarious show. A lot of good lessons there. But no matter what you think about Bill Cosby, good lessons. But
Yeah. And then I just found out OJ's getting out of jail. He was just paroled. So it's just been an interesting year in that regard. Lots of criminal court stuff. And then, even bigger issue when we talk about laws and courts and things, the big elephant in the room for 2021 has been the abortion law that was passed in Texas and is now at the Supreme Court level. The arguments have already been made before the Supreme Court, and sometime between now and I think they said June of next year, we should have a decision on what the Supreme Court is going to do.
I'm glad they're taking their time.
Yeah. And there's people on one side that are like up in arms and fearful that Roe v. Wade is going to be completely overturned, and Casey, which is the other case that came after Roe, that they're going to be overturned and that abortion will be illegal, which is not actually accurate. It'll be illegal in Texas and any state that passes the law saying it's illegal, but in other states they'll be able to make their own decisions on what they're going to do about it. But be that as it may, that's a landmark deal. That's a huge deal. I know for those of us who are pro-life, and we are unapologetically pro-life. That is not a political statement. That is a biblical statement. We believe Jesus is pro-life, and because he created us. I think that's pretty clear. And we also know, just by the way, if you need another argument from faith, at least for pro-life, it was the first person to acknowledge that Jesus was alive was another baby.
Yeah.
In utero.
Yep.
Being John. So, but anyway, those are big. That's a big deal this year that happened, along with some other cases like the mandate cases up in front of the Supreme Court. That'll happen in January in just a few days. So yeah.
So let's turn a corner here. We just spent 29 minutes of telling you all the dark stuff that's happened in 2021. So we said this was a political show, but that's all we've talked about.
Sure.
Because it has been part of life. But here,
as we said at the beginning, this year has been a lot of politics stuff.
But here in the middle of all of that, there's revival happening in different parts of the globe.
Yep.
India, huge revival that's taking place.
South America.
Just Google revival in India, and you will hear up-to-date stories. I think you can Google it and get that. That's taking place. And then Kenya, revival in Kenya. Christians that have given life and family for their faith has sparked and started revival, because in the middle of all their political mess, because they're as messy as we are around the globe. I mean, we think we live in America and we're the only political mess. Definitely not true. Just spin the globe, if you have one, or do the Google spin of the globe and just hit your space bar and it'll stop. And you know what? Wherever it stops, there's a political mess there too. So we don't have a monopoly or the corner on political chaos, but there's more revival going on that we don't hear about. And this Uganda or Uganda, Uganda, there's a revival going on, and they have no food, they have no water, they have government lockdown, shutdown, they have corrupt law enforcement. Basically, you take America and put it in Uganda, and double the bad part, and that's where these people live. And there's revival, and churches are growing, churches are being planted. So around the globe, there are things that are taking place. So don't let your faith get shaken by the doom and gloom of reviewing 2021. Get out of the political mindset and look for things that have nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with the whole pandemic, and search for something. It's going to be a challenge, because even as we searched a list to review, it's hard to find a list of reviewing 2021 that is positive. It's very centric around the evils of our culture. But I want us to talk about, just real quick here before we go, even here locally in our church, trying to stay filtered with everything that we've done by keeping our eyes on Jesus. Hebrews 12:2. That's been our verse this year. So
new one to come.
But it's keeping our eyes focused on Jesus, and that's what's got us through.
Well, and those of you who go to Herman, as you know, we've been raising money for. We've adopted the continent of Asia to build clean water wells.
We've adopted Asia.
Yeah.
That is a great way to end 2021.
So most of you who go to our church probably know that we've announced on Sunday what the number is. We're not going to say that here because for
we
those of
announced
you
the number?
this coming Sunday, this last Sunday, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Duh. I mean,
Yeah.
we did our cool skit and everything. Sheesh. But we are actually next week, because we're still tallying some of the money that came in on Sunday to give a final number.
Right.
Next Tuesday, we will give the final number. This will be a great way to just close out 2021.
Yeah, well, it'll be close to Tuesday. It may be the Tuesday after that because people give online, and it takes a bit. So
Maybe. We'll try and have a number by next week because it'll be after January, and we should be close to having our year-end numbers done. But if not, we'll wait till the next week. But we are excited to give you the final tally, and we're going to put it not just in terms of dollars, because dollars don't really tell the story. We're going to tell you how many wells we're going to be able to help build, how many families that's going to affect, how many people are going to be affected by that, and for how long.
Right.
Because I think those are the numbers that actually matter. What
Right.
lives have been changed. And, I mean, at least for us, you wanted to go local. This is something that our church is taking a stand to make a difference in the lives of people who realistically, on a financial standpoint, cannot make a difference for themselves. And that's always a fun and exciting thing to be able to be a part of, because that's giving God's presence, not presents.
I followed you.
Man, I hate the English
we
language.
should have two cue cards. With that.
Probably should have.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to reveal that final
that's
tally.
That's pretty cool.
It's
That's pretty cool.
it's neat. Our church is so good. We love you guys.
Yeah, and to look at our own church people has been so encouraging this year, because I have seen our people in the midst of all of the dark that we just talked about. They have had revival in their hearts.
Yep.
There has been healed marriages. There's been healed relationships between parent and student to student, and grandparent to, their kid, and there's been financial freedom. There's been healing. There's been answer to prayer time and time again. There's been the lifting of fear and depression and anxiety in people's lives. I mean, just look around. And if you don't go to our church, you go to another church, look around your church for what's God done? What presence has he been in with your people? If you don't go to church anywhere, man, get part of a church wherever you're at.
New Year's resolution: go to church.
Yeah, don't, because you'll fail that. All right, don't make a resolution. Just do it. It's a mindset, right?
Well, if it's a resolution, it's got to be resolute, meaning that it's firm. You're going to do it.
At least once. Go at least once. Do that.
This
right?
coming Sunday. Because
even in a resolution, you go to the gym once. You will go once.
Yeah,
you may
we've
not go again.
we've diluted
we
the
have.
word resolute.
We have. So anyway, so that's where I think I want us to, where I want to just really have you focus before we go is look around at what God's done. And if you can't see it, ask somebody. Ask them, hey, how did you make it through this year? And listen to what they say. Now, if you're not asking a Christian, you're going to get a whole different response, right?
Usually.
But ask them, how does God help you? I guess that's more the question. How has God helped you through this year? And listen to how people say they've prayed and God answered, because those stories are there. They're real. God is bigger than the situation, and he's real. So chase him, follow him, run after him, and know that, man, Christmas is not about the gift. It's not even about the well water. It's not about, it's about Jesus himself. And, man, he can rock your world, change your world, and transform your life in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to our year in review show. It's a little different than last
Yeah.
year's. Last year's was a lot lighter, I guess. But, I mean, it's how it's been these last couple of years. It's just been a rough couple of years. So we're looking to a great 2022.
You said I'm looking good.
Oh, I am.
You were. I know that's what you're saying.
I mean, bald is beautiful.
That's awkward.
If somebody would just learn the lesson and shave their head.
You just can't grow hair.
You can't either. Not a lot of it, at least. I mean,
That's
look at the bald spots.
I tried to grow a mullet, and I'm growing it here pretty good right now. But
That's how it should be.
yeah.
It'll be gone by Sunday, probably.
Hey, those of you in Canada that are watching, hey, I'm glad I don't live there. I'm just saying, because it's a minus 37 degree Fahrenheit.
You know it's going to be in single digits here this week.
But it's
By
still
the end
not
of this week, it's going to be single
37
digits.
degrees minus.
Well, all I can say is that New Year's, I'm staying indoors.
You are not. You got a New Year's Eve party.
Yes, but I'm going to be indoors on New Year's Day.
You should be on a ski slope somewhere.
Yeah, no, thanks. Well, hey, we will see you next year, and we are excited to start a whole nother year of the podcast with you. We'll be at we just finished episode 50. How cool is that? 50 episodes.
We have to have a big cake for 52.
Why 52? Because that's how old you are.
Well, no, because it's our 1 year birthday.
That's true.
I can do math.
It's good. It's good you can do math. I'm proud of you.
It stops there. Hey, glad that you're joined us. So go make somebody's day.
Yeah. Have a happy New Year.